Welcome back to our cybersecurity curriculum. My name is Vlad, and in 2025, I try to help you in your cybersecurity journey, especially if you are a beginner and if you don't have a computer science background. Uh, in episode one, we discussed the three main properties of cybersecurity, which were CIA, if you remember: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And some of you might have noticed that in this first slide that I presented, right in the middle, we actually have information security rather than just cyber security. And that's because there is just a small difference, but the term that you will see in all the regulations, in most of the papers, are actually information security. And the reason is that information as a whole, of course, encompasses cybersecurity. When we talk about cyber, we exclude by default any hard copies like paper documents, all the physical support. We are not there to protect the premises in a physical way by installing, for example, barriers, gates, having agents patrolling the area. That's not part of cybersecurity. We focus on everything that is digital. It can be endpoints like a laptop, like any computer, a mobile phone, servers. It can also be elements, including in industrial manufacturing chains, for example, sensors, PLCs, robots, anything that consumes or produces information is in the scope of cybersecurity. Having said that, some of you, and I go back to the previous slide, some of you might be wondering why cybersecurity is so trendy right now. What's really the difference with traditional IT? Because in the end, most of the notions from cybersecurity are inherited from the traditional IT background, which is why so many of our professionals today come from a computer science background. So if we look at it from the definitions and from the main properties, what we have in traditional IT is that, well, first of all, confidentiality, yeah, it's clearly a security objective, no objections there. But if you look at integrity, this is not something new. In the traditional IT, and I'm saying traditional not in a pejorative way, just a fact. If you have been working in an IT department in any of the company, integrity has always been there. Especially when you consider, for example, database migration. For example, you have a website that was just a proof of concept or a smaller project, but your website is now gaining in growth, gaining customers, gaining visitors. And at some point, you just have to find something more scalable, find something that you can maybe integrate some new services. So maybe at some point, you will have to migrate certain databases, like a customer database or a transaction database. And in the process of doing that, of course, you want to make sure that you preserve the integrity and making sure that everything that you had in the legacy version of your application or your website is transposed into the new version. So the data integrity is absolutely not new from a cybersecurity perspective. And the availability, if you think about it, making sure that the services, the application, the endpoints are always available. Well, basically, this is the core business of an IT department. The IT department is there to make sure that all the applications from engineering, HR, finance, all the functions within a company, all of that is up and running. So that's really their core business. And I would say all along the application or the service lifecycle, basically from the very definition of the application, the push in production, the maintenance, and even the decommissioning. So the question that maybe some of you might have is, but then what's the difference between cybersecurity and the traditional IT? And the thing is that traditional IT only focuses, and that's their job, only focuses on dealing with the IT systems under normal circumstances. Whereas on the information security or cyber security perspective, we always take the perspective of an adversary. Of course, we have to make it hypothetical to make some assumptions because you are not always under attack by malicious actors. But we have to look at things that way from an adversary, from an offensive perspective. And that's really the difference between the traditional IT spectrum and the information security. So every time that you're thinking of scaling an application, making sure that it's resilient to a certain number of users, That's traditional IT. For example, when you launch a product, we see that a lot. When, for example, there is a video game that comes out, for example, GTA 6, we can be pretty sure that at launch, many of the future players will want to connect, and some of the servers are going to go down. Maybe the game will be inaccessible or unavailable during a short period of time. And that's normal circumstances because there is no malicious intent behind, and it's really about managing the resilience of your application, managing the providers, and that's really what I would call normal circumstances within the course of a project. Of course, a project can migrate, evolve, integrate new components, but that's really traditional IT. However, in cybersecurity, we will always focus on, okay, what could a malicious person, because in the end it's really about people, it's not about computers hacking things on their own, at least not yet in 2025, but it's really about people maliciously trying to gain a foot into an infrastructure and damage our three cybersecurity properties: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. In the next episode, I will give you practical examples of cyber attacks and tell you more about why it's really important that you care about cybersecurity, both on a personal standpoint and as a business. But for that, I will see you in the next video. Thank you.